If you're just joining us, I'm Tim Barkley with Charleston Home Design magazine, and today's radio show is coming to you from a private residence on Daniel Island. And now we're talking with Paul Abrahms with Smart Vent. How you doing, Paul?
Doing great. Thank you for having us, Tim.
Sure. Paul, tell everybody about Smart Vent.
Well, Smart Vent is a flood foundation vent that equalizes the foundation when you flood.
Mm-hmm. So, kind of paint a picture for our listeners. If you're looking at a house, the exterior of a house, where would you would see the smart vent flood vents, right?
Sure, it's in the foundation, just like your air vent would be. What makes us different than that air vent is that when the floodwaters rise, the vents actually open to allow the water to pass through, water and debris, into the foundation, and then remove it from the foundation, so you equalize, keeping the foundation from washing out from underneath the house.
And what happens if you don't have flood vents like the smart vent?
Usually there's air vents underneath the house. Debris, because those vents don't open, there's a screen there, and usually there's louvers on it to close up, and so debris actually gets sucked into that vent, causing hydrostatic pressure to take over and pushing the foundation out from underneath the house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So when, and we're talking about like when there's a flood or a hurricane, and there's a storm surge going on.
Sure.
And the water is coming up on your house, and if you don't have flood, and new homes today, every new home that's built must have flood vents, right?
That's correct. If they're in a A or AE zone, and just recently there's been a law passed about house zones, which are on the beach, the high velocity, who normally have breakaway walls. Mm-hmm. And those breakaway walls, FEMA has actually found out that they don't always break away. Maybe one, the surge isn't strong enough, but two, a lot of homeowners don't realize that those walls are designed to break away, so they put shelving in there, put paint cans on there, and the walls can't break away, which caused the houses to collapse. Now they're requiring to have hydrostatic vents like Smart Vent, which are nationally certified. These vents are designed to go in those houses to help relieve that pressure on those walls.
Mm-hmm. If somebody has an existing home that doesn't have flood vents, can Smart Vent help them out?
Absolutely. www.smartvent.com, you can actually go in there and find on there that we have a locator, and you can find somebody that does installs, surveyors, location where we actually sell the product here in Charleston. Mm-hmm. There's 3 or 4 dealers. So there's a lot of information on that smartvent.com website.
Would you recommend that people who might have an older home or even a newer built home that doesn't comply with today's codes and doesn't have flood vents, that they install flood vents in their home?
Absolutely, and the big true sales pitch is that the insurance is high. Mm-hmm. Right now we just had the new law that passed, and it's actually raising people's homeowners insurance. So, people were paying like $500 a year, now maybe paying $5,000 a year, and expect a 18% increase each year. Mm-hmm. Until they actually become compliant.
Mm-hmm. And so if someone has flood vents like the Smart Vent flood vent installed on their house, they can contact their insurance company and let them know that they've got flood vents now. And what will the insurance company do?
Well, with the proper flood vents, and that's where you look for the national certification. Smart Vent is the only engineered opening on the market in the world that we know of that carries the ICCES certification.
And what does ICCES stand for?
Well, it's the International Code Council. They're the ones that write our code books for all the different municipalities and for the states. And the ES is an evaluated service that they provide, mm-hmm. which basically takes the product and certifies that it does what it does. Mm-hmm. And FEMA, which is the federally backed flood people, they actually require it to be certified. By the ICC. So there are a lot of what we call clones or wannabes out there that are selling flood vents that may meet the criteria but are not certified. And certified actually lowers your flood insurance up to about 83% in some areas.
Right. And so if someone doesn't buy a smart vent, flood vent, and we have a flood event, we have a strong storm surge, what do some of the wannabe flood vents, what will happen?
Most of the time it's caught before the event. When you do an elevation certificate, which is required, the surveyor comes out, does the survey, counts the number of vents, gives the total square footage of the vents, and if you've got the proper venting, like smart vent, it lowers that insurance. You can't guarantee that these wannabes will actually pass. FEMA or the underwriters will see that they're not certified and may not get the credit that is truly deserved by the homeowner.
Gotcha. And then when we do experience a flood or a strong storm surge during a hurricane, and I guess I just want to have you reiterate this for people. If they don't have smart flood vents on their home, what's going to happen? The water's rushing in. It's going to go. It's going to get into your crawl space somehow. Right.
Well, you're not going to stop Mother Nature. The floodwaters are going to get in there. I mean, you've seen pictures of F-250s floating down the highway or houses being lifted and floated down the street. Floodwaters will get into that crawl space. If water can't go around it, can't go over it, it's going to go through it. And so with other vents, so-called air vents being modified to be flood vents, they've got a screen in place. The debris, actually think about it being the water being sucked into that foundation. Well, all the pine needles and all the seaweed and all the beer cans and everything else will actually get sucked into that screen, which will cause the hydrostatic pressure to build up on that vent and literally push the wall out from underneath it. FEMA says doggy doors aren't acceptable. Some sort of doggy door may not open with debris. Some of these knockout things, I've seen some vents that had like this, when the water hit it, it would actually push the vent open and leave a gaping hole there. Most of those things will get caught up at an angle or something and can't get out, but they usually work one way. So it doesn't allow the water to escape from the foundation, which again, hydrostatic pressure builds up on the inside of your foundation and pushes out the back of the house. Our vents, smart vents, actually open as the rising water rises and allows the water to pass through and debris, and it works in two directions, so it allows the in and out to stabilize.
Yeah, and I just have to throw in a quick plug. We've got smart vent flood vents on my own personal home, and we have an elevated house, and some of my neighbors don't have smart flood vents, and they just have like a screen and vents underneath their house that aren't actual flood vents, and they get all sorts of dust and everything into their space underneath their house. We use a lot of the space underneath our house, besides a garage. We have a workout room and things like that, and we don't have any dust. We don't experience what a lot of the neighbors do, and I guess. If you're planning to use that space underneath your house, you don't want it just open to the elements, to Mother Nature, right?
True. And keep in mind too, Tim, you can't use that for personal. Like grandma can't live down in that lower area, because FEMA's not going to insure it.
Right.
The vents that you used on your home were actually our insulated product, which has foam filled. And has felt strip around the vent itself to keep probably about 98% of the air out of that crawl space or out of that lower level there. Not energy efficient by 100%, but my thought is, do you want a energy credit for once a year on your, or one time on your tax returns, or do you want to save thousands of dollars each year on your flood insurance? So you kind of have to pick your battle.
Right.
We do have a product that is designed for closed crawl spaces or an elevator shaft, stairwells, that type thing. That's the insulated model. And then we've got one for the air vent, which allows the air and the water. So we've got a product for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, the space underneath our house is unconditioned space, and
Sure.
you're right. FEMA won't allow you to build in there, and we certainly haven't done that. So, but you want to use it for storage,
Sure.
and you know, it's usable space. It's
Sure
just
it
not
is.
livable space. Well, tell everybody how they can get in touch with SmartVent.
Well, our website, www.smartvent.com. We've got a world of information on that website. Something for the architects, something for the realtors, something for the insurance agent, the homeowners, all the professionals, even your building code officials.
Mm-hmm.
There's tabs in there that you can go in and find information that's pertinent to your profession. And then, of course, we've got great dealers around here. Mm-hmm. On the website, if you're in the Charleston area and you pull up, you're going to find your local sales rep, and that's me. And my information's on there as well, and I'll be glad to direct you in the right direction.
And they would buy the smart vents directly from you, Paul, or from a retailer?
No, sir. Buck Lumber, Southern Lumber here. We've got about 5 or 6 different 84 Lumber. Guy C. Lee over in Mount Pleasant. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of dealers in the area that sell the product. My recommendation is that if you don't understand the code, it's best to get somebody that does to install those vents, because proper placement is very important. Mm-hmm. We want to make sure they're put in by professionals, so to speak. Gotcha.
Yeah, I definitely want to update your house, and not only will you're guaranteeing that, or you never know what's going to happen during a flood or a hurricane, but you're certainly doing the best you can to make sure that your house is going to stay intact, and you're going to save some money by contacting your insurance company and letting them know that you've made these improvements to your house.
Yeah. And the law that was passed was the BW12, and of course it was just modified about a month ago, but the modifications weren't a big savings. I mean, there's a lot of smoke and mirror in there. Homeowners' insurances are going to go up, and they basically say that if your house value is, the insurance premium is worth $30,000 and you're paying $500, your rates are going to go up each year 18% until they reach that $30,000 premium, and people can't afford this.
Yeah.
So, you know, SmartVent is, and we can actually take your elevation certificate and you can fax it to us. We'll look at it and we'll mitigate it for you, send it back to you, and tell you whether SmartVent's good for you or some other type of mitigation. Our job is to help you lower your flood insurance.
Good deal. All right. Well, we've been talking with Paul Abrahms with SmartVent. Thanks so much, Paul.
Thank you.